too. I mean, and I should have stayed in my back. Well, the only problem, my backyard was Austin, Texas, and they're all smoking crack there. Like I mean, seriously, they think that their stuff doesn't stink and it's like the most beautiful thing and you should pay $150,000 a door for it. I'm like, no, because we were buying in Austin in like 2010 and, we bought it like 37 a door and we thought 54 a door was expensive. We were buying. So it's very hard for me to go, oh, I'm going to pay 80 a door. You're nuts. But sometimes if it makes money, you should just go ahead and pay 80 a door if you can get a loan. But you have to get over the mindset thing and the emotional thing that drives you again. That's another example of that stuff, right?
As an operator, I know other investors are romanticizing multifamily investing, and I'm looking to learn from other investors' mistakes. I know you are too, and you found the right place. Welcome to Myers Methods Presents Multifamily Missteps. Hey everybody, and welcome to Myers Methods Presents Multifamily Missteps. I'm your host, Jerome, and I have Amy with me today. How are things down in Texas?
They're good. They're good today. It's lovely weather. It's not raining and it's nice out. And, I'm driving around looking at property. So, that's me.
So if the listeners want to get in contact with you, what's the best way to do that?
I have a website called TM1Properties.com. And then if they really want to reach out to me, they can always call me. I know I'm crazy. I'm putting out my phone number, but it's 512-688-0594.
I always love when folks do that because if they're
yeah, everybody's amazed. Like, you're really giving out your phone number? Yeah, I'm giving out my phone number. It's cool. It's all good.
So we connected on LinkedIn, and you just have such an amazing story. Would you be willing to share some of that with the listeners, and then we can dive into steps?
Sure. Give you the Cliff Notes version. So I started in construction. That's what I started originally. So my grandfather was an entrepreneur. My dad, they had a glass company together, and so I remember riding around in the truck with my dad and my granddad, and doing that kind of stuff when I was little. And then when I went off to school, I graduated from Purdue, and then when I graduated, it was like late 1998. It was right before the boom happened, and it was kind of hard for me to find a job. I don't know why. It just was 98 was kind of difficult, and I graduated in the summer too, so that didn't help. So I went to go work for my dad and doing commercial glass and doing that kind of stuff, and he wanted me to take over the business, and I went, no, I don't think so. So then I went and I moved to Austin, and I was working in tech and doing a lot of HR stuff. And then after probably, in the boom, when the bust happened in 2001, right after 9/11, my husband at the time had started a construction company, just barely had started it. And I was helping him on the side anyway. So he's like, well, just come work with me. And so we did. And we built that company into a national retail construction company. We started doing retail finish outs all over the United States. We were about in 16 states at one point. And then we started doing multifamily. And then we started real estate investing about in 2008, doing flips and things like that. And then started passively investing in multifamily. And when we started passively investing in multifamily is when we started remodeling. So basically we were the passive investor, but we were also the GC on the remodel. And we did that several times. And then we started just remodeling for other owners. And we did that for about 5 years, just all over Texas, like Austin, San Antonio, Bryan College Station, that kind of market right there where we were remodeling a bunch of multifamily. And then we went out on our own. We had some single family investments too. And then we were passively investing the whole time. And then we sold 4 single families and went and bought a 40 unit. We 1031 exchanged that money. The owner financed the 40 units to us, and we went and bought it on our own. And then sadly, my husband and I got divorced. And when we did that, we had to basically sell all of our real estate, all of it. And then I took the proceeds of that and then I started syndicating deals. So I wanted to stay and do multifamily. So I syndicated a portfolio of properties, was my first syndication. And then I look actively at property managing and doing that kind of stuff. And I'm actually looking for other properties to buy. So that's kind of my full circle of life in construction and real estate investing.
Wow. Put your seatbelt on. This one's going to be a wild ride.
I know, right? Yeah. It was crazy. It was very, very crazy. So, yeah.
So you left your corporate job after
I did.
turning your back on entrepreneurship and walking in and getting the keys from dad. And then you came back out and did it in real estate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was interesting. I think I always knew I needed to be an entrepreneur. I mean, I made it in the corporate world for about as long as I think I could make it. I'm always been that person that it's not that I'm mean. I'm just fairly blunt, and I'm just fairly person who's right to the point. And some people get offended by that. And I'm just like, look, it's not personal. It's not at all. But I'm going to tell you if I think you're screwing up. Sorry, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I'm not I'm nice. It's not like I'm not nice, but I'm nice. But, I generally get myself into trouble because my mouth gets me into trouble because I don't, I say what I think. So there you go.
And so you've done a lot of deals. And
Yeah.
I imagine that every single one is went exactly as you had planned for it to go, right?
Oh, you know it. No, they did not. They did not. So one of them actually was fairly benign, and and the partners and I were like, what is wrong with this deal? Why is this deal working out so well? Like, it's like, and we kept expecting for something to blow up, but we had a couple of things dealing with the cities and water issues and some other stuff, but that was like nothing compared to some of the other ones. But yeah.
So let's dive into a couple of the bigger ones, because you've got one that costs quite a bit of money, and then you have another one that to go to first. So let's talk about the little one, then do the big one.
Okay, so the little one was so I always real estate's a team sport, right? So you understand that from because I was a general contractor on several jobs, so I was always the person when they came to do due diligence or whatever, they were always calling me and they always appreciated my advice, right? So when I turned the table, when I was the actual owner and not just the GC, for some reason I just thought I could do it all on my own. I didn't. But I would go out and get some advisors in the beginning and look at the deal, and let's do the due diligence and stuff, and let's look at all of that kind of stuff. And so when I was buying this property, when things got a little hinky, I just, instead of reaching back out to those folks and really, getting their advice and kind of mulling through, okay, this is the situation I'm in or whatever, I just decided to do it all on my own. And because I was just like, I can just work harder. Like there's something, it's not that, the deal's going bad, or maybe it's something that it's unforeseen. It's my fault, right? There's something wrong. It's wrong with me. And so I just need to work harder, and I just need to do this. And I need to, I'm not working hard enough, and I just blame myself. And it wasn't necessarily my fault necessarily. I mean, sometimes circumstances happen to you that, they just happen to you. And it's probably, telling you maybe you might want to go ask somebody for help, right? I think it was the biggest lesson I had to learn is that you can't do everything on your own. And that was with that 40 unit that I bought, and we were just like, things were just not going well. And I should have reached out, months and years sooner. and try to figure out how do I get through this and how do I get, and had that relationship through that whole process, not just in the beginning when you're doing your due diligence and trying to get the transaction done, but throughout the whole thing, routinely checking in with my advisors and routinely checking in with stuff. And, you know, and even when things, you know, and to this day now I do it, but I do it with when things are going well too. Like, is there other stuff that I should be doing, or is there other things we should be looking at, and that kind of stuff. That was the small one. The big one was a lot bigger.
So what was it about not wanting to ask other people for help, or not wanting to, why didn't you want to actually just have the conversation? Because you'd done it before, you know? So
yeah, it was dumb. It was the stupidest thing ever. I think it was a pride thing. Part of it was a little bit of a pride thing. Part of it was, you know, I didn't want people to know I was screwing up. You know, I didn't want people to admit to people that things were going bad, you know, because I was a part of a real estate group for a while, and it was, you were kind of keeping up with the Joneses, right? Like, you're in this little group and nobody wants to admit when something's wrong. But it's real estate. Things go wrong. I mean, like, all the time, which is why I love your show, because it's okay to say you're screwing up and things are going bad, and it's, you know, it's real estate. And I'd been in construction for freaking 15 years. I knew things go bad. Like, I had been building everything. You plan for things to go wrong, but I don't know what it was about this group that I was in that is you don't say it. You kind of hide it. And it's, if things are going bad, you just kind of don't admit it. And then you just hide it under the rug, and you just, you know, it was like it was so dumb. You know, it was just dumb. And I put myself in that position, and I just kept, you know, trying to, you know, it's me. Everybody else was having great success, and I don't know what's wrong with me. And it really wasn't me. It was just the market was weird. It was a pocket of where that market was, that it just, I mean, I was a mile from a university, but I couldn't get any freaking students to come there. I'm like, I'm a mile away, but I was on the wrong side of the tracks, basically, is what it was. I was truly on the wrong side of the track. I mean, there was a student housing property like half a mile away, and there was this railroad track, and there was my property, and I couldn't rent students. I mean, seriously, was on the wrong side of the tracks. I'm like, what is it? I don't understand. But yeah.
It's a real thing. Those invisible boundaries are a real thing.
I know. And so it was just, you know, it was interesting. And then, you know, finally, when I started to get the help, and I finally, you know, I was like, oh, I'm such an ugly. I should have done this a long time ago. And, you know, it was just a different take on how to market. It was a different take on how to do this. And it was, hey, have you tried that? And they were very, very helpful. I mean, I just did it to myself. I don't know why. It was just kind of silly. Really, truly was silly. So that was one that caused a lot of heartache and pain, and didn't need to. And yeah, that was the small one. The big one, We're ready to move on to that one, or do you have more questions about this one?
Oh, I do have more questions, but we're going to go to the big one, because this is a really big one. I'm going to spend some time here, let you enjoy.
So, the big one. So I had syndicated a deal where I was buying a portfolio of properties, and they were in Corpus Christi, Texas. We went under contract in July of 2017. Well, Hurricane Harvey hit, and the epicenter was at Rockport, which is just north of Corpus Christi. Everybody remembers Hurricane Harvey for Houston, but truly it landed in Corpus, like just north of Corpus. So, and it landed in September. So I'm still under contract. I'm like in my due diligence period, and holy crap, there's a hurricane coming, and it's gonna, you know, and I'm talking to my investors, and we're like, oh, it's just gonna be flattened. Like, there's not gonna be anything. We're gonna lose this deal, right? So, you know, and I'm just letting them know. I was like, you know, this is so the hurricane hits, but for those people who don't know about hurricanes, I mean, I grew up in Texas, you're in North Carolina, you know about hurricanes. There's a good side to the hurricane and a bad side to the hurricane, right? So there's when the good side when it's on the bottom where the wind, as it whips around, it kind of dies down a little bit, but on the other side, it's where you get all the force of the wind and everything. So we were technically on the good side of the hurricane. So we had some wind damage, but it wasn't as necessarily bad as Rockport, which was just north of it. And then there was some rain, but that was later. And so as it hit Corpus, it was a bunch of wind damage. There was some rain, there was some stuff, but then it went and turned up and just sat on Houston and dumped rain. Like that's basically what Hurricane Harvey did. And so when I got to the property after Harvey kind of blew through, there wasn't necessarily, this was a big construction project to begin anyway. It was $660,000 that I was going to spend on these two small properties. That's a lot. But I was buying it at like it was like 34 door or something like that. It was really, really cheap. And for the time, it was like half price. And so I was going to, upgrade the exteriors, upgrade the interiors. So all the stuff that was damaged was stuff I was already going to repair anyway. It was all part of the construction budget anyway. So technically we could move forward.
What's up, guys? It's your host, Jerome. I just want to let you know we launched Myers Methods in the fall of 2019 with the ambition to inspire a new breed of multifamily investor. If you are interested in getting into multifamily or scaling your current business, hop over to our website at myersmethods.com to grab your free 4-step guide on how to get the ball rolling in multifamily. Now let's get back to the episode.
But so we get through there and I'm talking to the investors, and initially everybody was like, oh, we'll be full, right? Because there's going to be all these contractors that are going to come down after Hurricane Harvey, and they're going to need a place to stay, right? We're going to have like, we didn't get flooded out. We didn't have like major things happen. We're good, right? So we'll be full, right? That's what's going to happen. Yeah, no. So that did not happen. Actually, it stayed very flat. So we went ahead, we said, we'll be good. We'll do that. And we'll just go ahead and buy it. So we went under contract. This is a long story, but there's a couple of missteps I made here. So I'll tell you the whole story. You'll be like, holy buckets, Amy. So, the day before closing, you know how the owner is supposed to give you a rent roll. Like this is what the rent roll is on the day of closing, right? This is where you're at, right? So but I can't get onto the property, take possession of the property till everything clears or whatever. So the rent roll that he gave me on the day that I took over was completely fictitious. I was supposed to be at 70% at one property and 80% at the other. And it was like 40 and 50. And so I should have walked the property again. That's my lesson learned. I should have gone and walked through the property again just to check to make sure everything was hunky-dory and all that other stuff before closing, and I didn't. And because I could have just said, so basically I came in and I had less income coming in day one. Like immediately when I took over, I had less income coming in. My construction budget that I had previously set out with the bank, I didn't adapt or change. Lesson number 2. I should have changed it. After Hurricane Harvey hit it, I should have bumped it up, changed it, raised more money, did some other stuff to change my PPM, to do all this because I was syndicating the deal. And so I should have raised more money, knowing that, oh, by the way, a hurricane just hit your property, right? You might have some little cost overruns or something. Didn't do that either. But the biggest thing was I had in my construction budget, you have like your scope of work, and the bank kind of comes and that's how they divvy out the money. And so in my scope of work, I had 24, I planned on having, based on the rent roll that I had, which was completely fictitious, I had 24 units that I was going to have to make ready, right? Oh, well, I needed to make like 60 units ready, right? I mean, it was just disgusting. And so I made those 24 units ready right away. But then not only do you have the vacants that are there, but then you're going to have to, it was a C property with loser people in it, right? So you're going to have to get rid of all the riffraff, right? So now I'm down to I have like 20% occupancy. I have no money to freaking turn units. And oh, by the way, you have to spend the money that you do have, you have to spend it on all these other things when you really shouldn't, because, you really need to turn units so you can get income in there. Oh my Lord, it was awful. And so I'm trying to make, like cut costs. Like they have a budget for fencing, and I'm trying to get it done as cheaply as possible so I can use that whatever buffer margin I have so I can freaking go turn a unit. Oh my Lord, it was awful. And not only that, I mean, but just like the hurricane hit, right? So the hurricane hit, and then there was so many delays for, like, you couldn't find a painter. You couldn't find a carpenter. They were pulling them out from rocks. I was pulling them out from miles away, trying to get because there was all this money coming in, and they didn't want to do my little project because the insurance money paid more. So they weren't going to come and fix my little apartment complex because I'm not an insurance company. Oh Lord, it was crazy. I went through like 4 painters, 2 roofers, couple carpenters. Yeah, because they would just like, oh, I got this insurance job, I'm just going to leave. And you're in the middle of they gave you like a bid and a contract, and they're just like, nah, I'm out of here, I'm gone. And so after all the delays, and the material prices went through the freaking roof, and I didn't plan for that either. So hindsight 2020, I should have walked away. And it wasn't necessarily that the properties were bad like afterwards. It was just the economic impacts of the hurricane, and then just trying to get through that large construction budget. I should have been ding ding ding, red flag, Amy, this is probably going to go really really bad. But I didn't, because I was so excited to do the deal. And that's another thing, is like, don't let emotion run you. I was so excited to get in here and syndicate and make my name for myself. I had just gotten divorced. It was like an FU to my ex-husband. It was all of that stuff, right? I mean, that's what it was. And so I was like, damn it, I'm going to make this thing work, right? It was just stupid. All my discernment and all my like wisdom all went out the window because I'm just going to do it. It was just so silly. It was so silly. And so, that was one of my big ones.
I love it, because nobody will talk about it.
No, yeah.
To share that story where everything in Murphy's Law happens.
Yes.
You're like, everybody's like a duck, right? They're on the surface, nothing's happening. They're just looking calm, and then their feet are going all kinds of crazy to try to keep them in place, and you're just trying to keep it together, man.
Oh yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, it was nuts. It was crazy. And yeah, so that one took a lot longer to turn, obviously, and to get stabilized and all that. It's finally stabilized now, but it took a long time, a lot longer than you originally anticipated. So yeah.
So you're still holding it?
Yeah, we're still holding it. We're gonna sell it here pretty soon. But yeah, it's finally stable. But it took years. I mean, and all of the preconceived notions about how long it takes and all that other stuff went out the window on this sucker. But real estate's good. I mean, it's a good property now. We'll finally be able to get out of it and make some money and hopefully break even with all the stuff we had to put into it. And sometimes that's a win. Like breaking even sometimes is a win, because when you get into a bad property, it's an interesting, and also too, is like, you can't foresee like the hurricane part of it, but there was supposed to be all this promising stuff coming to that market, right? Like they had expanded the port and they had done all this stuff, and there's supposed to be all these jobs and all this stuff. It just never happened. Like it never materialized. I never felt, so when you're looking at markets too, you're looking for job growth and you're chasing all that stuff and economic year-over-year, changes. And it had that. Corpus had it. And so you're like, oh yeah, this will be a home run. Every assumption that you walk into, like, oh yeah, this is going to be a great deal. It's half price. It's, the market's growing, all the stuff you normally look at in a real estate deal, Corpus had it. And so you're just thinking, oh yeah, this is like a home run. That was not a home run. Oh my Lord, was that not a home run? So you know.
The thing that I've learned over the time that I've been in real estate is like, there's a whole lot of people chasing the same deals, right? But if you can buy in your own backyard, you got a pretty good idea of what to expect, and you can avoid some of this stuff.
That's true too. I mean, and I should have stayed in my well, the only problem, my backyard was Austin, Texas, and they're all smoking crack there. Like I mean, seriously, they think that their stuff doesn't stink and it's like the most beautiful thing and you should pay $150,000 a door for it. I was like, no, because we were buying in Austin in like 2010 and, we bought it like 37 a door and we thought 54 a door was expensive, we were buying. So it's very hard for me to go, oh, I'm going to pay 80 a door. You're nuts. I mean, but sometimes if it makes money, you should just go ahead and pay 80 a door if you can get a loan. But, but you have to get over that, the mindset thing and the emotional thing that drives you again. That's another example of that stuff, right? Where it drives you in the wrong direction. If you just looked at it logically, it would make sense, right? If the numbers, hopefully work and everything works out, but yeah, it's just kind of funny. The thing about someone told me one time, real estate's easy. It's just the people that are hard, right? And it is. And it's very true. You're dealing with buyers and all sorts of stuff. And they have prejudices and biases and they all think, whatever it is. And, yeah. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
So Amy, the last question for this wonderful interview, and by far it's been one of my favorites, is what words of wisdom do you have for the listeners?
You cut out for a second. What'd you say?
What words of wisdom do you have for the listeners?
Words of wisdom. I would say pick your partners carefully. Pick them with skill sets that you need, like, because you can't do everything. And so because you can't do everything, you need to be self-aware enough to know who's going to help you and who's got a skill set that you really, really need. And that they're like, like a duct of water in it, like whatever that is, that skill set that you need, and pick them as your partner. If they're a good, decent person that won't run when it gets hard, and they won't turn their, stab you in the back because things are going bad, and they know enough about real estate so those are the people, because stuff is going to happen and you want people there to support you, not hurt you. Because partnerships always, there's some partnerships that they just, they go bad, and you don't want to be in that situation. You always want to make sure the people that you're working with are good people. And they've got skill sets that can help you, because then in the end of the day, if you've got partners with different skill sets than you that are really beneficial, you'll have a better chance of doing well, right? And that kind of thing. If you don't have somebody there that truly can help you, it's like they've got, whatever it might be, if they're like a data hound and that they love sitting there and crunching numbers, and that's just not your thing, right? That's okay. Because your thing is to go get investors and schmooze people and look at the property and whatever that might be. But you got to have that data hound person, because that's very beneficial. And that's me talking to myself, because I can do data and I can do all that kind of stuff. But oh, Lord, it's like pulling teeth. I can do it. I just don't want to. So I like to have somebody who just likes to do that stuff. So it's awesome, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that would be my biggest, that'll get you out of more issues and help you be more successful than I think anything, truly, is that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Amy, I appreciate all your transparency and you sharing the ugly side of multifamily investing, because there are so few people who actually are willing to tell these horror stories. So again, thank you for sharing your missteps, and hopefully none of the listeners will make the same missteps you've made because you've shared. Thank you so much.
Great. And keep doing it, because multifamily is a great business, and it will change your life. It will completely change your life. So keep doing it. Keep investing in real estate. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for the pep talk. We'll talk.
Right. Okay. Take care.
You made it to this juncture, so you really love what we shared on this episode of Myers Methods Presents Multifamily Missteps. Do us a favor. Give us a 5-star rating. give us a review, and share this with somebody who's interested in multifamily investing. Until the next time, the pack is with you.